Hi, thank you so much for joining us today at our Salon series here in New York City. We have a lot of very special guests with us tonight. In fact, our special guests, which are many students from both TMU, Toronto Metropolitan University, and Parsons here in New York. Welcome. You are the reason we are putting this event on. So to begin, before we start our panel discussion, I wanted to invite our partners at Futures and Options, Parsons, TMU, and our HR manager here at Yabu Pushelberg to say a few words about our relationship with one another.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jean Bucaria. I am the Director of Employer Partnerships at Futures and Options. Futures and Options, our mission is to empower New York City high school students by connecting them with career building experiences. And the only way that we can do that is through partnerships like the wonderful one that we have with YP. We've actually worked with them for more than 5 years. They have worked together to expose more than 24 students to the world of interior design. They have generously hosted 4 interns, each intern a high school student working over 150 hours. And they've learned tremendously, and we're really building that pipeline for them to be having that exposure at the high school stage where they could start thinking about college and what their next steps are. And YP has been really instrumental in providing that support for our students. In fact, our students have said that they're tremendously welcoming here. They've built up their communication skills, and it's a wonderful relationship. We're grateful for the partnership.
We're grateful to you. Thank you so much. We have our representative from Parsons, Cotter. Welcome.
Thanks, Marika. My name's Cotter Kirstin. I'm the Dean of the School of Constructed Environments at Parsons. It's lovely to be surrounded by so many students from Toronto. And we have a few Parsons students here too as well, including our 2 Parsons Yabu Pushelberg scholars, Irene and Bhumika, who are and I'm joined by some faculty as well, Carly Cannell, Boyega Adefope, and Nadia El Roxy. The Yabu Pushelberg Scholars Program at Parsons started in 2016 with the help of Professor Emeritus Johanna Woodcock. And since then, there have been 12 scholars. We have about 2 a year. And it's a great opportunity for the students to be connected to industry, to be connected to this fantastic firm. And it's definitely something that our students aspire to. And I also know that I think Margot Roy-Bière is in here somewhere. Yes. One of my former students, a YP scholar, and now works here at the New York office. So yes, we make those great connections. Yes. We've had a few. So it's a great relationship, and we're happy to have the partnership. And thanks for hosting.
Thank you, Cotter. Thank you so much.
Do I go?
Yes, you've got your own. Great. Yes, oh.
Hello, everyone. Where's Toronto? That's really pathetic. Let's do it again. Where's TMU? That's right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christian Mehta. I'm the VP of Advancement and Alumni Relations at our very fine university. I am delighted to be here this evening. I literally just got off the plane like 45 minutes ago. So It's kind of surreal to be in Toronto and then be behind these or in front of these really big lights. And I'm just so delighted to have the opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to 2 incredible TMU alumni who have really been kind of groundbreaking and sincere and incredible force in not just the world of design, but really in the world of changing the world. And so I really want to honor and congratulate and thank Glenn and George for their leadership and for representing their alma mater so brilliantly. It's just so special. And I'm not sure if all of you know this, but In 2013 or 3, they received honorary degrees from our university, so they're doctors. Yeah. We call those folks double alumni. So we're delighted that we could be here to celebrate not just one another and what you're accomplishing here as students, but also what our alumni are contributing back home and to all of us in this room. So I am delighted by that. Thank you very, very much, both of you. I'm also delighted to thank, congratulate, celebrate Dean Charles Falzon. Yes, Charles is leaving as our dean, completing his term. Yeah, let's do a collective awe.
Aww.
We are so grateful, Charles, for what you've done for TMU, what you've done for the Creative School, what you've done to establish this hub in New York. It's very special and is really a blueprint for many others to build those relationships across borders and across disciplines. And I honor and congratulate this TMU alum as well in all that you've done to support young people, researchers, faculty, and the likes, both here and everywhere else around the world. I also just want to take a moment to thank Charles's team and the folks that have really helped put this together, Sadia, Joseph, Michael, and others, who are really helping to shape our intentions to build out the best-in-class opportunities in design. And so this team really is the lifeblood of the work, and I want to congratulate and thank all of you. Big round of applause for all of them. And finally, I just want to say, before I pass it over to Charles, that all of you students from TMU will graduate from TMU and you will become alumni. And that means that you will continue to pay it forward, right? Yeah, you will continue to support the people who eventually, but really share your love, your care for the people that will come after you, as people like George and Glenn have done for us and for you. So I really hope that this is an opportunity to really build that community, that sense of camaraderie, and that sense of belonging, because you always will belong to this university, even if it's in New York. All right, over to Charles Falzon. Big round of applause for this dean.
Thank you. Thank you for that. This is a bit embarrassing. Can you hear me? Oh, now it's working. Okay, now I can hear myself. I think that I want to address for a bit the 70-plus students from Toronto that are here, because this is all about, for me, it's all about you. But I also, at the same time, know that none of this was going to happen without not only Pushelberg, but also all of the alumni who are here.
Maybe put it a little closer to your mouth.
Okay. Is that better? That's worse. Hello? Okay. Because the network of alumni and support of our partners who have made this happen also have done it because of you, the students. I just want to tell you two quick things before I won't take a lot of time. This isn't about learning stuff. You learned a lot. You heard a lot of things. Partners shared things. A lot of great things were discussed. And I saw in the presentations earlier how amazing you were. Sorry, I don't do audio. I'm just an exec producer. It's not about that. It's about a mindset. It's about a mindset. And there's nothing like the New York mindset. The mindset that Yabu Pushelberg have seen since they've been succeeding here, those of our other alumni, and now hopefully you have a window into it. And I heard it, I saw it in your energy, in your voices today, when you were seeing things based on your talent, but just a little bit differently, a little bit more assertively, a little bit more globally, a little bit more yes you can kind of mindset. So I hope you nurture that, and I want to thank you guys, the students, for doing this for yourselves and for choosing to come here today. And I wish you all the best, and thanks to everybody here who made that happen. Thank you.
production here at YP. And my job is all about helping our amazing people thrive, growing their careers, and trying to make sure everyone loves coming into work every day. At YP, our connections with incredible institutions like Parsons, TMU, and Futures and Options mean the absolute world to us, as they represent the heart of how we build a pipeline of brilliant talent for our future. We believe in investing in the next generation of creative minds, and these partnerships allow us to welcome fresh perspectives and unique talents into our studio, which is crucial for sparking innovation and keeping our design work at the forefront. We're committed to helping young talent develop the skills that will redefine our industry. And our goal is to ensure a steady flow of highly skilled, passionate individuals who share our values of design excellence and pushing boundaries. In fact, many past students have already become cherished members and leaders of our Toronto and New York teams. We currently have over 15 team members from TMU, 9 from Parsons, and we welcomed Alice, who I'm not sure if she is here today, but we welcomed her in January from Futures and Options. Yeah. For us, it's about building genuine relationships with all of you, our future colleagues and leaders. And we've got a great evening planned for all of you, so thank you for being here and enjoy.
Thank you, Deidre. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to introduce our guests of honor. We'll start with Glenn, who I'd like to sit next to me, please. Glenn Pushelberg, founding partner, Yabu Pushelberg.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, okay.
We have a problem. Kirstin pointed out we have a problem.
Oh, okay.
So you'll get to meet Kirstin in a minute. Kirstin is become a close friend.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to give an introduction to Kirstin because
Yeah, can you do it?
It's all about chairs.
Oh, I know.
We're getting serious.
I know.
Kirstin was at one point the head of design for Edition Hotels. She worked for the Inn. Now she was the head of Edition. Now she's the head of luxury. She's the queen of everything luxury in Marriott. We would spend years together on a project. I remember Times Square, sitting in the lobby, and Kirstin looking at the chairs. There's always one ugly chair. But tonight it was even better. Why aren't the chairs all the same height?
I know.
And I love Kirstin for that because God is in the details, right, Kirstin?
Exactly.
Anyway, this is
No,
Kirstin.
you know,
This is Kirstin.
this is Kirstin Bailey. We know her originally. We know her originally from our work with Editions Hotel, and even more so now, she's the creative director at Marriott Luxury Brands, and we're so honored that you would come and join us today.
If you think about that brand, how precise it is, how thoughtful it is, how clear it is, it's because you think about the chair.
It's true.
It's true.
And she's not wrong. The criticism is valid.
Yeah.
And
What the hell?
and you know what?
Okay.
That's something that we want to talk about tonight. Is you know, no feelings are hurt. It's not personal, but noted. And
Okay.
don't do it again.
Never be afraid to point stuff out is the lesson
Yeah.
here.
Our next guest is a former YP alumni, the beautiful Carolyn Meersserman. She used to work for YP for a long, long time, and now she has her own business. She's a founding partner.
A very special studio, which we should talk about.
Yes,
later.
we are. It's called BANDO, SEIDEL, Meersseman. Did I pronounce that all correctly? Ah, beautiful. Caroline, welcome, and thank you so much for joining
a very
us.
beautiful studio with very beautiful people doing very beautiful work.
Yes. And lastly, we have Michelle Cangemi. We call her Mimi. And she is, one of our multidisciplinary design directors here at Yabu Pushelberg. She's also been with us for many, many years. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge because you've been in so many different places at YP. So I invite you all to sit in this mismatch of stools. And, but don't you want one with a back?
Okay, I'll sit.
You-
I've got long legs.
You get the pink chair.
Well, that's...
Tonight's conversation, you know, it's really not the most unique topics, But the purpose here is to celebrate you students, 2EMU and Parsons. We really hope that what you take away from this is that we care about you, we want to invest in you, and the panel that we've invited here, hopefully they can share some lifelong knowledge that they've learned, things that you just won't know in your early career. And that was why we've invited them here today. We want to hopefully reassure you that everything will work out, inspire you, share some stories, and give our best advice.
I don't know how much time we have because I can.
Well, we want to keep it, pretty concise
Okay.
because,
I'll shut up.
they'll swipe through it otherwise. So, but again, all of these students are in their second or third year, maybe some of them are in their fourth, but graduation is on the horizon. Many of us did go to post-secondary university or college, and what I wanted to maybe talk about is, what did you get out of your experience? I mean, it's so different.
At school?
At school. Glenn, why don't you start?
What? Okay. What I was going to say. Okay, I'll try to be quick. So it came from a small town. I wanted to get out of a small town. I applied to three different schools: Hotel and Food Administration, Fine Arts at another school, OCAD now is University of Guelph, and this program called Interior Design at what was Ryerson, TMU at the time. I chose them all for different reasons. One, I like to talk to people, so hospitality sounded good. Fine Arts, I didn't have to write exams, and neither did you have to write exams at Interior Design. I didn't go to OCAD because I couldn't make a career out of it, and I didn't go to the University of Guelph because I would have to live at home. So it was an inner passion to be an interior designer my whole life. It was by default. Anyway.
But what did you get out of it?
What I got, the first year I thought, okay, teach me interior design. And what they were teaching us was teaching us how not to think, or how to think with pure thoughts, and how to get rid of the conventional thinking that you had. And after the first year, I thought, this is a waste of time. Nobody's teaching me how to pick drapes or how to paint. But I realized subsequently, many years later, that was exactly what we all need, is how to think without preconceptions. And when we do formal salon series like this, we actually talk to people who've gone through the arc of their life, getting rid of any preconceptions and living a free life. And to me, my advice, hopefully what I hope we can all get out of this, is we all build our own roadblocks in order to achieve what makes us happy. Anyway, that's enough.
Michelle, Caroline?
Oh, the troublemakers on the side.
Yeah.
But it's true.
What's your question?
Yeah, no, I
You
yeah.
want one of us
Did
to
you, well,
answer?
I mean, do you have anything to add to that?
Something you got out of school?
Yeah,
I mean,
or
personally, I feel like I got a second lease on life because I was a career changer. And I was like, had this super boring job before I decided to go back to school, and I was a little bit lost. And I was still working full time while I was studying in the evenings and weekends, and I felt like I found this adventure. And it just, consumed me and was so fulfilling. And it felt like I was going to play with toys every day. And that's, the joy I think that I found there continued on here at YP. So for me, it was just pure joy and adventure.
and Caroline and Kirstin, do you think that your education gave you a clear path, or were you like, I learned how to learn for 4 years, and now I'm out in the world, and who knows what?
I think for me, one of the greatest things that happened to me in school, I went to Pratt Institute, so I grew up in New York. I felt like that was really far away. Brooklyn was very far away, so that was what I was thinking at the time. But I was in school during the AIDS crisis, and I had a lot of very good friends that I lost, and it was a really tragic time in my life. And when I got to my senior thesis, my teacher said to me, you know, you really need to find something that you're passionate about. And I was watching people that were doing, you know, store designs or whatever it was, and I just thought, I'm not passionate about this. There's nothing in that for me that's gonna make me spend the next 8 months working on this thesis. So I decided to design something called the Goodwin House, which was a home for people with AIDS. And it was the first time that anybody had approached that. I looked at, you know, tons of research and whatever. So in a way, it was my first hospitality project without even realizing that that's where my life was going to go. And it was written up in Interior Design Magazine.
Oh, wow.
And that kind of launched my career path. Just
wow.
That's
trying to
incredible.
find something passionate.
Glenn is absolutely thrilled to know this story because he wants to know all the questions, which we'll do it. We'll keep that for another conversation. But Carolyn, do you have anything?
This is impossible to follow up.
Yeah. I think you need to like tilt it.
I'll try this one.
Yeah.
Very different. I'm also second career. I studied philosophy back in Italy.
Philosophy.
Yes. With a major in film analysis. And then I was teaching there for a little bit. Came to New York.
Don't push the button.
Don't push the knife.
I think it's an angle. I think it's an angle.
You have to kind of hold it up.
It's an angle.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, then I got to New York for a few months and decided to stay, and somehow ended up at Parsons. So that's where I studied. I did the AS because I was second career. And then from Parsons, still thinking that I would fall into set design because that's what I really wanted to do, and then got an internship at YP. And stayed at YP for almost 10 years. Loved it. And my dad recently told me, well, I guess this is gonna stick now. Like, do you like what you're doing? I do like what I'm doing. And once in a while I say it myself too. I say like, I like this design thing. I think I'm gonna stick to it. But anyways, like the question was really, what did you learn in school?
Or
A ton of things.
Yeah.
Because in reality, like even before philosophy, before all of that, like all through high school, I really wanted to get into art, and this was the first opportunity to like really make things and do things, and it was the best time. 2 very intense years, and I made some very good friends that are still my friends now. A lot of them work here, not a lot. Some of them still work here, like Joe. When I was a student. And then later, like about 10 years later, I started teaching at Parsons hospitality design. And so a lot of my students are now my friends, and we work together. And some of them are here. Yeah.
To a professor from one of the universities in Montreal on the weekend. Is it working? Anyway, so it's okay. We're low tech.
We'll share.
And he said the best thing you can learn while going to university is to have fun. Because through fun, through people, through other students, you learn to mature. You learn your own voice. You learn who you are as a person, and you absorb things. I think that there's a lot of truth to that. What's interesting about Carolyn's company, it's totally non-conventional. There's a bunch of XYPs, there's other stuff, but they live, work like a commune. It's very fluid, people come in and out. And it's
Our current studio, yes.
in your current studio, and I think it's totally.
can you like you can hear it when it's working.
Okay, so behave.
No, I just correct.
So, but
Correct it.
I've always admired that you built something out of joy, out of your soul, out of convention, and it's a reminder to all of us to live without convention. So I think you have such a beautiful place, beautiful work, and beautiful people. I think that's
but all those beautiful people I met at YP, including my husband.
Ah, this
Yes.
is true. Well, I want to move on to the next topic, which is mentorship, because I think mentorship means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and for your generation, it might have been a little bit more formal, a little bit more long-term, and I think that maybe there's a different meaning today in the younger generation, and I think it's especially affected by the fact that, you grew up you went to school in the pandemic years, maybe you don't go out as much, maybe there's less connection in this younger generation world, and so I maybe invite you to speak to us about what the value of mentorship is, and it doesn't have to be a formal way, it doesn't have to be traditional. So have you had somebody that you menteed, did you mentor? Just speak to the point.
Who are you asking?
Anybody, really. Kirstin?
I have taken in students before that have shadowed me for a couple months at a time, mostly for school credit. And, and I have to say, it's hard as the mentor to find the right thing to do with the student to really get them to learn. But I've always just brought them right in and full speed ahead, come follow me. And what I've heard from every single one of them afterwards is how much they actually learned. Because I didn't give them kind of pretend, well actually one I did give a pretend assignment to, and she did a great job. But that I think is for me, it's to always have the mindset that people were patient with me and really taught me, and that's what I want to give back.
That's lovely. I love that. Michelle?
I don't think, I do have a working, if
I don't know. I think it's an angle. It's like,
sorry.
I don't know. You got it
Oh,
good.
mentorship. Carolyn was my professor at Parsons, my final studio class, along with Bob, her husband. So, I mean, I went from incredible mentors in school to George and Glenn, incredible mentors in my career amongst so many other people here today. But I guess more than what I want to say, not necessarily about my own experience as having mentors, but maybe a word to the students would be not to miss out on the rich time in person. I think there's a lot of remote work opportunities these days, but it's really the passing moments, that the drive-bys that you just have in the studio that are just full of rich, valuable learning. And I noticed that with my own team and the designers when we're sitting with each other, there's just so much more to exchange. So I think that back when I was being mentored, I'm still being mentored, but earlier days, everything was in person. And I feel like that's my wish for you, that you can have those drive-by moments that were so valuable to me.
That's great. I agree. You don't have to say anything. We'll just move this along. I want to talk about motivation and mindset. Glenn wanted to know, or he wanted to speak.
You know about my mentors?
I mean, do you have anything to say? Glenn, what motivates you, demotivates you?
Can I talk about mentors? No,
Yes, you can.
Chocolate motivates me. You open your eyes in the morning, because the blind has been broken for a year and a half in our house in Toronto, it's kind of light and bright, and I feel positive. There are occasionally, sometimes, I don't know what it is, I think it's chemicals in our brains. Sometimes when you open your eyes, negative thoughts come in. I find when I feel negative thoughts, or if I'm on can happen sometimes in the morning, most likely on a long trip coming home after lack of sleep on a plane, worrying and thinking about things, and your mind switches to negative thoughts. And I think that what I've learned, it took me a long time, but what I've learned is if you work hard at it, you can control your negative thoughts and they become positive thoughts. And to
100%.
me, that was a life lesson for myself about it's a lazy mind that thinks negatively, and it's harder to be positive. When you're positive, the world is your oyster. You can do almost anything.
Absolutely.
And you can live without limits.
I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I feel like I had a little preview to this, but I've been thinking about it, and it piggybacks on what you're saying. It's like reframing, because we had a conversation earlier about demotivation, and I think what demotivates some young designers is rejection, or the idea of rejection. But when you're working with a team and everyone is collectively working towards a solution, that the rejection of a thought or like the analyzing of an idea should be motivation. I think that should be motivation for a collective approach to a solution, and that's
Problem solving.
Problem solving, and use it as fuel.
Yeah.
You know, like use it as the gas you need to come to the right design or the right solution.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Sorry, blanking a second, but basically, because I'm kind of mixing the two last questions,
Yeah.
so both the mentoring
Yeah.
and this like fear rejection or how you work together. Going back to the mentoring, I think you can find mentoring in anybody you meet and in anything you see.
Yeah.
So like really pay attention, stay open, have the conversations, ask the questions. And then going back to this like review or rejection, like know that sometimes, especially with your teachers or your mentors or your first bosses, like it's not about you. You are there already because they saw something in you that's valid, because they want to hear from you and they think you bring something to the table. So if there's criticism, like know that it's always about the thing. It's about the project. And sometimes, like in the beginning of my team leadering,
Yeah.
I had to like tell people like, hey, this is not about you.
It's not personal.
Like this is, yeah, like it's about the project. We're looking at this external thing and how can we work together to make it right or make it good. But I want to hear from you how you got here and why and etc. So like, and students mentor me as much as I mentored students because of the questions they asked that made me, you know, question
Make you think, yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And Glenn was my first mentor. And then this is one thing. No, this is one. And then Kota, and then my husband, and Michelle, and all the students, everybody. But you said one thing a long time ago. I'm sure you forgot, which was, it was before a presentation, and like, you know, like we were like still like trying to put together, you know, like the final PDF and make sure this was printed and blah, blah, blah. And you were like, where are the cookies? Right? And no, it made total sense, because then afterwards we talked about it and we're like, we're in the hospitality business. We need to be hospitable, right? Like, and that's the first thing. It's like, you know, like,
Yeah,
so
I love that.
reframing things. It's not about like having the latest rendering where you fix the lighting. It's about, you know, how you present the things and how you involve other people into your process, how you care about this common goal that you have, a project or whatever it is.
There was a famous guy, there was a famous Canadian architect, Arthur Erickson, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, friend of Pierre Trudeau's. He had a big life. He designed the embassy in Washington, friends of Princess Diana, friends of Shirley MacLaine, had a house in Malibu, had a house in Fire Island. Little diminutive man with a huge career, beautiful brutalist work. We were just starting, I think probably in our 4th year of practice, and we did this pretty little store in Vancouver. It was a conversion of a post office. Nobody knew us, and Arthur in Vancouver calls up Klaus Steenkamper, who's a furniture dealer in Toronto, and said, who are these kids? I want to help them. So he calls up all the media in the United States and gets us published. Never met him before. We got to meet him as a friend. He would call us for dinner and, oh, here's my friend, Edward Albee. Here's blah, 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 blah. And we looked at his life. And he lived. He spent every nickel he owned. He went bankrupt once. But he lived a beautiful life with a plum. It wasn't about pretense. He was deeply vested in his creativity, deeply vested in his lover who committed suicide because he had AIDS, who was a flamboyant Spanish guy, which he never talks about. But to me, that's a mentor, to live life fully without limits. And there are people in your lives that can teach you things that aren't as tangible as just your work. And that also, then that reverberates back into your work, because even as a designer, we create our limitations. Or, I made this perfectly, and why don't you like it? Rejection, etc. But it's all about the mindset of openness and generosity, and people like that teach you that.
Yeah. Great. Kirstin, unless you have anything to add to those topics, I have.
think they all,
Yeah.
I know.
There's something I wanted to ask you, because you're outside
can ask
the
me
YP
some.
world,
Yeah.
and you work at great, amazing companies, and that's so cool. But I think maybe you have something to say about the soft skill of reputation. It's something that you build over time. It's something that it happens slowly and maybe quietly. And is there something because your reputation is built when you're not in the room. So do you have
Yeah.
any advice for these young people, to that regard?
That's a really good question. I mean, I've had quite a career path. I've gone from very, very small little firm when I got out of school to ending up in Paris and working for Andre Putman, not in interior design actually, we're cataloging her slides because I just wanted to get in the door. That's actually one thing. Please don't think that you need to go work for the best person in the world. You kind of need to get that comfort of being in an office and knowing people. And then my relationship with her introduced me to Christian Liegre, who I think by far, he was a French furniture designer, by far the most brilliant person I've ever worked with, and I learned a lot. It was like being in school all over again. And I just kind of always had these humble relationships, and I would meet tons of designers and architects through all the relationships I had. I worked for Ian Schrager. I don't know if anybody in this room knows who that is, but who is that guy?
That guy.
I worked for him for 25 years, but I met a lot of architects, interior designers, and I always just kind of did my work. I did the things I was supposed to do, and have had a life of collecting personalities, and they always seem to come back. Or somebody will say, I remember you, we met at, blah, 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 didn't you work for so-and-so? And you find out that it's a really, really small world, and people are paying attention. People are watching you when you don't realize it. They're watching what you say, they watch what you do. I just chose to be kind of quiet, a humble one in the background, but I've met a lot of people, and it's gotten me to where I am today. And I always say to students that come and work for me for a while, you kind of have to, slow and steady wins the race, right? And eventually at some point you'll find where you belong and what type of design you're doing. I had no idea I was going to go into the hospitality world. That was the furthest thing from my mind, and that's where I've ended up. And so I guess that's my.
That's a good answer.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing that.
It's interesting because, we were working together. You were on the client side, and Andrea was also in that studio, and I was asking Anda one day about all these famous people, Philippe Stark, all the famous architects working with Ian Schrager, and what did they have in common? And Anda said they asked questions, they listen and they give advice. It wasn't about arrogance and ownership in an aggressive way, but it was about curiosity and clarity of who you were.
It's not a must answer, but if you have something to add, you are more than welcome.
You pushed the button again.
I think you turned it off. No. No.
This one? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going back like half a step because I was talking about this earlier with my husband and partner, which is, you know, when you're a student, and even more like tonight, so now I know that there's people from TMU, there's people from Parsons, there's people from different degrees. Not everybody here is into interiors. There's people studying business, there's people studying fashion. So look around, and like the person next to you might be in 10 years the developer you're working for as an interior designer, or they might be the Kirstin on the brand side, or, you know, you never know. And like, just keep the conversation going, be kind, be curious, talk with people, and yeah.
Be humble,
That's
be
actually
accountable.
very
take-
true. I just, going to Pratt, we were not a huge group of people, and I stayed in touch with some of them I completely lost track with, and one of them I ran into at the airport just a couple months ago. And he's like climbed up in the world, and we ended up having very similar careers, which was really bizarre, and now we're back in touch, and a lot of networking happens that way too. Like, somebody within a company will say, you know, we're looking to hire 3-4 more people. Do you know of anybody? And you know the character of the person that you're going to recommend, right? So
Because character is as big as skill
you know,
set.
I have to say character is probably one of the biggest things, because everybody can learn what to do, but if they don't, if you just are rubbing people the wrong way,
Yeah. If you don't have integrity and honesty.
yeah,
and
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
And so, and Hiromi's looking at me, but I think that's what I've always aimed to do, is to teach people the skill that they don't know, but it's much more important to me the feeling that I get from that person when I meet them for the first time.
Oh, I love that. That's so true.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Work hard, show up, be reliable, you know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're still now getting jobs from people that like 20 years ago, like they were maybe the architect on a project and I was the junior designer, but I was answering the email at 10:30 at night for, you know, and they remember these things,
Yeah.
you know, like it just comes back. And the cookies.
And don't forget the
Bring the
cookies.
cookies.
Don't forget the cookies.
Bring the
Um,
cookies. Be kind.
Do you have more, Glenn, do you have like some story that you've been saving, or can I wrap this up?
I have
Do you?
stories. You can wrap it.
Well, I mean, there's a couple things that I had like a whole topic about, you know, networking and what there's a couple things I want to say. You know, networking, I think that word needs to be rebranded because it sounds yucky and annoying and, you know, have to do it. But in the end, it's all about relationships. And tonight, here, you have an opportunity, students, to talk to all kinds of different people you've never met. You know, introduce yourself, come say hello to me. These conversations, these first impressions
Just have fun.
are, well, no, but like they're invaluable. And networking doesn't have to be like going to a thing, you know? You can find yourself in a place, right? So, you know, take the opportunity, be social, go outside.
Have fun.
Have fun.
Yeah,
And then I had a question for the audience, and I honestly doubt that you're gonna anybody's gonna answer it. But I'm gonna read it, and it's sort of, I'm gonna read it to you. This is for the students. As I said, some people say that Gen Z has a reputation for not working hard, being fragile, or somewhat entitled.
Whoa, whoa.
Many of us, including Glenn, think that that's an unfair blanket statement.
Okay.
And your group started your formative years during the pandemic, economic instability, climate anxiety, and nonstop digital landscape. Rather than being unmotivated, your generation is redefining what motivation looks like. You're not interested in performing burnout culture or sticking with outdated hierarchies. You value authenticity, mental health, and purpose. This may look different to older generations, but it's not a lack of ambition, it's a shift in values. So I just wanted to honor you for that. Is that true?
Yes.
Now, are there any questions for our panelists?
Got any questions?
I mean, probably, yeah, no.
Kirstin, where was your first kiss? Oh, no, not that.
Oh, it happened to be across the street in that little alleyway. But
Oh my God. Well, I really like to thank you very much, Kirstin. It's a real pleasure to have you here. Thank you,
you for
Glenn.
having me.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. We really hope that you felt the YP hospitality. We really hope that you took something away from that. Because that is part of our ethos, is to show you how special you are. So.
Be careful, those of you who are 21, we're in New York, we're not in Canada.
And there's a headshot photographer. So if you haven't had a chance, that was another thing that we are offering to you. So go take a gander down that way. But thank you very much. Yeah.